Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, a guide by Stuart Bott. What is FERPA? FERPA is a federal law that protects the confidentiality of student education records. So any public school that is receiving any type of funding must comply with FERPA. FERPA gives students and parents who are 18 the right to prevent the disclosure of personally identifiable information, or a PII, from their education records without consent, access to review and inspect student education records, and also request correction of these education records. So FERPA prevents information disclosure from a student's educational record, not their directory information. What is an education record? So under FERPA, education records consist of anything directly related to a student that is maintained by an educational agency or institution. So these may include student and parent names and address, social security or school number, student state and place of birth, biometric details, students' medical details, a student's grades, transcripts, students' discipline files or incident reports, and a student's education schedules. Exceptions to FERPA. FERPA prevents schools from sharing student data without parental consent. However, there are a few exceptions. So under FERPA's health or safety emergency provision, these may include certain law enforcement officials, under an epidemic, an active shooter, impending natural disaster such as a tornado, or under a judicial order or lawfully issued subpoena, or a student engaged in a crime of violence or a sex offence. So who needs to follow FERPA? The school principal, teachers, administration, board members, counsellors, school nurse, paraprofessionals. Also contractors, consultants, volunteers, or other third parties to whom a school or district has outsourced certain functions may also be considered school officials. FERPA compliance with technology use. So as of September 2019, at least 10 school districts have been in the news for their own ransomware attacks, and the US Department of Education reports that hundreds of educational data breaches occur annually. So schools need to be mindful about protecting student data and have a plan in place to do so. So like encrypting information, but also have the malware and security software in place. School records are kept online as well as assessment data, school assignments and student work on assorted apps and websites. So all vendors who have access to any information also need to comply with FERPA laws. So any third-party apps like LexiaCore 5 or any of those type of apps need to be FERPA compliant. Policies schools should follow to be FERPA compliant. FERPA awareness through training and visual reminders. So know what's in data records and who has the right to view them, and exceptions to this rule. Choose vendors who comply with FERPA laws. Introduce FERPA compliant policies, i.e. school data destruction procedures should be put in place. Encrypt digital data, and any incident report cannot be reported to media outlets. Data destruction. As technology is changing the way we store student records and data, the way we destroy or get rid of data is changing as well. Data destruction is a process of removing information in a way that it renders it unreadable for paper records or irretrievable for digital records. So any confidential paper copies, student test data, old IEPs, etc., they need to be shredded or placed in the secure shredding bin. For digital destruction, there are 3 stages. Clear, so software-based that clears or sanitizes the data. Purging it applies physical or logical techniques that render data recovery infeasible using state-of-the-art laboratory techniques. Or destroy, this method renders data recovery infeasible using state-of-the-art laboratory techniques and results in the subsequent inability to use the media for storage of data. So a tip, remember, if there is something that you're unsure of, see your principal for the correct data destruction. Immigration and customs enforcement in schools. Under federal law, state and local education agencies are required to provide all children with equal access to public education at the elementary and secondary level. A school cannot ask for a student's citizenship or immigration status. Access to student records should only be allowed if the requesting agency has a valid court order or a subpoena in compliance with FERPA or immigration laws or regulations. Surveillance cameras in school. Courts have generally upheld video surveillance recordings in school hallways, stairwells, school buses, school parking lots, and even classrooms. Video recordings of students are considered records, therefore they are accessible to parents if the video is directly related to the student. Students in surveillance videos that are caught by a camera but have no involvement in an incident are considered incidental and therefore do not come under FERPA laws. So the USD 489, the student privacy policy. So this is what needs to be considered at a school and a district level. The district shall annually provide parents notice of their rights under the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment and the Student Data Privacy Act at the beginning of each year, and at any other time the school district policies in the area are substantially changed. Student data security breach, if there is a security breach or unauthorized disclosure of student data or personally identifiable information of any student submitted to or maintained on a statewide student longitudinal data system, each affected student or the parent or legal guardian of the student, if a minor, shall be immediately notified, and an investigation into the causes and consequences of the breach or unauthorized disclosure will be conducted. Unified School District number 489, Hayes, Kansas. And that is the Board of Educational Policies. And a tip, so click below for the policy handbook. So by clicking that link, it will take you to all the different education policies. And that is the reference page. Thanks for watching.